In just under an hour's time, Queenslanders will be heading to the polls after what's been a whirlwind election campaign. Less than 3 years ago, the LNP won in a landslide. The party has 73 members in Parliament compared to Labor's 9. The numbers make it a major challenge for the ALP, but there are plenty of seats that the government is looking very likely to lose. One is the Premier's own seat of Ashgrove, where voters remain divided. And Premier Campbell Newman joins us now at the end of a very busy campaign. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Deb. Thanks for having me.
Now, Premier, you seem to have a bit of a thing for making the history books. You became leader without a seat. You called a January election, which was quite extraordinary in itself, and now a major risk for you of losing Ashgrove. It must be disappointing for you that voters aren't in your corner in the electorate.
Well, you're talking about history. Well, what we want to do is write the future pages of history of Queensland, and what we're offering in this election is a well-costed, properly funded plan for the future of Queensland that will create jobs. We've had to make controversial decisions, hence it is going to be a very tight election race. But we have turned our hospitals around, so they're the best performing hospitals in the nation. We've seen reductions, quite significant reductions in crime in Queensland because we took on criminal gangs. We're saying to people the election should be about which team has the best plan. We have that plan, and we have a fully funded plan so we can create the hospitals and schools, bridges, community facilities that Queenslanders need in a growing state.
So what happens?
The Labor Party don't have a plan.
What happens if you do lose in Ashgrove? Is your political career over?
Well, if I've lost in Ashgrove, essentially the government will be kicked out tonight, and that will be bad for Queensland because we'll have a Labor state government which will be beholden to the Greens and minor parties. So we'll have the chaos of Canberra coming to Queensland. And we're urging people to vote one and only vote one today for the LNP, because that will give strength, stability and certainty to our state so we can implement our great plan.
But Premier, Ashgrove won't have to stay with the government. A less than 6% swing is needed to boot you out of Ashgrove compared to 12% to lose government. So the numbers simply don't reflect that rhetoric.
Well, we're seeing very clearly that it's a tight election, and tonight we could see Annastacia Palaszczuk forming government with the support of the Greens and the minor parties, and that's my clear view. I've said that all along. And the crazy thing about that is that the Labor Party don't have a plan. Throughout this campaign they've failed to produce any sort of detail. They can't fund the hospitals, schools, bridges, the new facilities that this growing state needs. That's why I'm urging people, while they might not like some of the things that we have done, we've always been working hard to turn Queensland around. The Leader of the Opposition was part of the Bligh government. She was a Cabinet Minister. She was part of the creation of the big issues we've had to fix up. And we're asking people to remember that, but also think about this great plan, a very strong plan that I can fully fund to take the state forward. And that is why we are proposing to lease the assets of Queensland. Only 11% of the assets, so we can fund the future of the state.
When you speak about the happiness of voters, there are 30 government seats at risk today, a major kick in the pants to you as leader and to the party. Do you concede that you have let Queenslanders down? Oh, look, not at all. I concede that we have made strong and at times difficult decisions, but look at this. We used to have the worst performing health system. The AMA have acknowledged in the last few weeks that our hospitals are performing far better. We have the best elective surgery waiting times in the nation. We've seen huge reductions in crime, in break-ins, in robberies and the theft of motor vehicles. Our schools are much better funded, focusing on teacher quality and school independence and literacy and numeracy, and our kids are performing far better in NAPLAN. Those are the things that really matter. And going forward, we have the funds in place to build the future of Queensland. How do you respond to the earning the nickname Gunna-Do? Not exactly a ringing endorsement relating to promises that haven't been delivered.
Well, Deb, the promises have been delivered. Our hospitals are performing now far better than before, whereas 3 years ago they were a dysfunctional mess. Our nurses and doctors actually get paid and get paid on time today. That wasn't happening 3.5 years ago.
We've seen multi-billion-dollar deficits every year that Labor is in power. Next year we have a balanced budget, and then we have a plan to greatly reduce Labor's mountain of debt, and we'll be saving $150,000 an hour in interest on the debt that the Labor Party accrued. And yet Labor want to come back, the same people who wrecked the state, and they have no plan. In contrast, we have a strong plan, and it's fully funded. The way we fund the future of Queensland is being set out very clearly and openly to the people of Queensland.
Premier, has Tony Abbott damaged your chances of winning? He hasn't set foot on the campaign trail, unlike Bill Shorten with Labor.
Well, Mr Shorten spent a lot of time in this campaign walking around with the Leader of the Opposition talking about the GST and making false claims about the GST, and then we saw that the Leader of the Opposition really didn't even know what the GST
But what about your side? What about Tony Abbott? Why haven't we seen him there?
Because this is about a state campaign. It's about state issues. It's not about federal issues, and Queenslanders are smart enough to know that. Mr Shorten is again one of the Labor team that blew apart the federal budget with poor and reckless financial management in the last few years, just as state Labor did. My view of his intervention in the campaign is it just showed that state Labor were being propped up. They didn't have their own ideas or plans, and in contrast my team do have that strength, that unity, that teamwork and a strong plan for the state's future.
All right.
So again, we can fund the future, and we will create 209,000 jobs in the next 6 years. That's what we're offering people. We're urging people to just vote one today for the LNP, and they will have that stability in these uncertain times.
Premier Campbell Newman, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks indeed, Deb.
For Queenslanders to decide, we spoke to Premier Campbell Newman a short time ago. The Premier likely to lose his seat at today's state election. Opposition leader Annastacia Palaszczuk joins us now. Good morning to you. Campbell Newman said earlier you have no plan, that your policies are incomplete and you're not prepared going into this election. Is this the case?
Oh, absolutely not. Of course Campbell Newman would say that. We have a firm commitment to keep our assets in public hands. Campbell Newman wants to sell $37 billion worth of our assets, and once they're gone forever. My plan is clear. We will use the profits from these assets, $2 billion a year, to pay down debt in a measured, sensible way, and also restore frontline services in health and education that were savagely cut by Campbell Newman's government over the past 3 years. I have a plan out there for jobs and job creation. I want to make sure our young people have employment opportunities. That's why I've put in place my Advanced Queensland plan, my business development plan, where we can turn ideas into more jobs. Our plan is fully costed. The LNP government has outspent us almost 8 to 1. But these are moderate, sensible plans. It is about listening to Queensland, and it is making sure that we keep our assets in public hands. And today is the day. Today is the day that Queenslanders decide whether or not our assets stay or whether or not they're sold to overseas companies.
Now, you talk about these assets. We're talking about $37 billion worth. They will be leased on a 99-year lease. But this is real money to solve real problems for Queensland. What is the issue that you have with that?
I have a huge issue. First of all, they have taken away the local industry content policy. That means there's going to be no certainty for the jobs of those thousands of Ergon and Energex and Stanwell and CS Energy workers right across the state. We want to make sure that our assets stay here. They generate $2 billion of profits each and every year. Campbell Newman has not said how they will solve any forward budget service infrastructure or service delivery if these assets are sold. So there's a very clear issue here for Queenslanders come today. Whether or not these assets remain in public hands or once they're gone, they are gone forever. And Campbell Newman can use the word lease, but Queenslanders are smart enough to know that a lease is a sale.
Still, it's a lot of money. How do you plan to help Queenslanders with a comparatively small $1.6 billion worth of investment?
Well, we have made very moderate investments and announcements over the course of this election campaign. But unemployment is nowhere near the 4% that Campbell Newman promised. It's around 6.6%. He has slashed jobs. 24,000 people lost their jobs. Over the last 3 years, we have seen chaos and dysfunction. We have seen changes to the electoral donation laws. This is not the Queensland I want. I want to lead a government where we bring people together. We don't seek to divide. And over the last 3 years, we've seen Campbell Newman picking fights with our community right across the state. Firefighters, ambulance officers, nurses, doctors, teachers, no one has been safe under this government. It has been chaotic. It has been shambolic. And there is a better way for Queensland.
But Annastacia, this runs through to the previous government as well. The Bligh government spent $15 billion selling off assets. So can you make a promise to voters right here and right now that no assets will be sold off under your government?
We will not sell Queensland's assets. And let me make this very clear. After the last state election, we were reduced to 7 seats in the Queensland Parliament, 7 out of 89. I heard the message from Queenslanders loud and clear. They said to me, we do not want our assets sold. And now Campbell Newman's government is embarking in an arrogant way exactly down the path of selling off $37 billion worth. And Queenslanders don't want that. They want to keep the jobs here in Queensland. They want to make sure that these assets are working better for them. And they want to make sure that the $2 billion of profits each and every year are used to pay down the debt and used to restore frontline services in health and education.
Not a great lead up to this election for you. Thursday, you'd have to say, was a disaster. You didn't know what the GST rate was. How do you think that's harmed your chances for election?
Oh, not at all. That was, look, those things happen in a campaign. You know, everyone knows it's 10%, but look, the big focus for today in this election is about asset sales. This is the biggest test. It's the fight of our life. We're in it to win it, and I'm going to be working hard right up until the close of polls because we need to make sure that our assets are kept in public hands.
All right, Annastacia Palaszczuk, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Have a great day.